Good evening and welcome to episode 5 of the West of Scotland Football League Buildup show. My guest this evening is Lee Conn. Lee, a former media man of Auckland Talbot. Actually, I think he's still in there doing some stuff for now because the Auckland Talbot's socials are quite recognisable. But briefly, back from a spell from Partick Thistle and an all-round good guy, one of the good guys in the West of Scotland sort of Football League media setup. Lee, how you doing, mate?
Don't know about that one, mate. Obviously, I'll take your praise on that one. But pleasure to be here, mate. And obviously, a lot to discuss today. And yeah, hopefully, good wee discussions to be had.
Yeah, so normally we have a gaffer on. I was let down last night, and I tried to salvage it. No saying that you're your last resort or anything, right? But I always said I wanted to do a few episodes with sort of media guys out the West of Scotland, and we'll do that. But it almost seems just the right thing to kind of get you on now and get it out the way, I suppose. Right, let's talk brain-fried Reconstruction. So I know a few podcasts touched on it at the beginning of last week, the end of last week, the beginning of this week. Now, we know from social media that the Lowland League met on Monday, and they were asked to vote. It was a paper vote, so we don't know who voted what. What we do know is the motion to take it forward came back as 96. Now, we need to be perfectly clear that this isn't something that is going to happen. It's not something that they've actually voted for. What they've voted for is to hear the proposal and how it's going to detriment teams, how it's going to affect West of Scotland, East of Scotland and Lowland League as a whole. So it was 9-4, 6 against. The working group met last night at 4 o'clock. I've not heard anything off the back of that. I assume that the working group will then ask the Lowland League to look at the conditions and things like that. Lee, what's your thoughts as a whole? Obviously, being a West Scotland guy, what's your thoughts? Because that's the primary thing we want to know. Thoughts on our West Scotland teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously the conversation's really been ramping up all the past few years regarding a restructuring, especially at the lower league level, and how that transitions into the SPFL.
Yeah.
It seems as if this one seems a wee bit rushed, personally, but it's the case. It gets to this point of the season, it's kind of just throwing everything at the wall and see what sticks.
Can I stop you there just 2 seconds? So something that I don't know if you're alluded to that was given to me, this proposal that the Highland League have set out was actually put on the SFA's table in April 2024, and they've sat on it since then, right? So my thinking is they may have done a bit more preparation that might be let out. So that's another thing to maybe think of as well.
Aye, it's the case. Obviously, it gets thrust on us kind of this time every year. It seems that there's a proposal. Last year it was the Conference League with the B teams, injecting a new Tier 5 and basically relegating everybody from current Tier 5 down. This one seems to also be trying to push a lot more teams up and regionalising it at that Tier 5 level. Personally, I think the idea of it sounds good. It sounds more interesting for me from the perspective of being a Talbot fan. A lot of the apprehension of teams in the current West of Scotland setup is when they go up to that Lowland League, it's a big ask for a lot of the teams there to then be travelling out east. You look at the current makeup of the league, there's a lot of teams out east. And in that kind of like, north central belt kind of region, if you want to expand it to that.
The Midlands League, isn't it?
Yeah. So for me, it's an interesting proposal. It's obviously, you look at the meritocracy of it and how that's going to be an issue for a lot of teams. And then, given the current setup in the West of Scotland and the teams that are involved there, obviously yourselves at Drumchapel, Johnston Borough, teams like Gartcairn have put a good bit of money into it as well and wanting to pursue getting that licence. Teams are in that process of doing that, and if it's shunted through early doors here, you're possibly missing out on a lot of good quality teams that would add a lot of quality to that league. And with every due respect to the teams that would be, coming up in place if it was this season, your likes of, say, a Benburb, I've seen Irvine Meadow floated up there. Teams that are at the bottom ends of their leagues currently. I think it's one that if it's shunted through, we all talk about teams finding their level. It just seems like, teams getting a promotion to Tier 5 when they potentially next year could be playing in Tier 7, Tier 8. It just seems a wee bit off in that aspect. But, I think as I say, the conversation around reconstruction's been coming to a boiling point. So I think it is the case where we're not too far away from something happening. I just don't know if this will be the one that ends up going through.
So let's touch on that. You made a really interesting point about an Irvine Meadow, a Rutherglen, Glencairn, a Colwyn and Rangers. Now, listen, we're no detrimenting these teams because they're three very good teams, right? But at the moment, they sit in the West of Scotland First Division. Now, with a side Colwyn and Rutherglen who sit at a higher level of that, you've got Irvine Meadow, who, you know, they are rightly licensed and they're a licensed club and a historic club. But it almost feels to me that it would be really unfair seeing Irvine Meadow being promoted based on their licenses. And I know teams have been asked to go and get their licenses and make, you know, improvements to their grounds, to their facilities, to their overall infrastructure. But there has to be a ground for fairness for me. You have to know what you're playing for at the start of the season. And I'm not involved at Drumchapel at that level, right? I'm not privy to, you know, what goes on in the background of the board, but I'm really friendly with Hopi. We're good mates, and he talks to me off camera about things that maybe he doesn't talk to everybody else about. I think you could probably see from Hopi's expression on the show last week that he's gutted because he knows he's probably going to watch a Drumchapel side who worked tirelessly for 4 or 5 years to get into a Premier League to now work tirelessly to get the licence, although that's not going to be granted this year. They're working towards it next year, right? To then see an Irvine Meadow or a Colwyn and Rangers go up ahead of them, so therefore it wouldn't be on merit, it would just be on a licence, and that's an example. But there's other teams out there like Johnsonborough, like a Largs, like a Troon. Troon don't have a licence, don't they? So these are all teams that are highly placed in that Premier Division, and they're maybe going to be playing football at a lower tier than Irvine Meadow, or and in fact, it could even filter down further, just depending on relegation. You could be getting into that second division and looking at a Bonnyton or a Girvan, and that's wild, isn't it?
I mean, it is. It's, you know, we all want to see teams doing well. You know, the project at Drumchapel's been, you know, as you say, 4 or 5 years in the making, and you're starting to see the benefits of that now. Obviously, you've seen some of the games earlier in the season against Clydebank, massive crowds at that.
Yeah.
And that's what this level's all about. It's all about bringing through, you know, these teams that are not sleeping giants to be. You know, I think that gets put around quite a lot, the term sleeping giant. But, you know, there's a lot of teams at this level that have got really good followings. And, you know, if the trapdoor was open, you know, these teams could really build on it and go through the leagues at a good pace. You've seen it happen to like Kelty Hearts, Cove Rangers, going up and really cementing themselves as solid SPFL teams. So I think it's all about the fairness and trying to, you know, increase that amount of teams coming through and, you know, just let teams find their level. And I don't think we do that when we shunt a team that's currently, you know, sitting 12th in the first division, you know, and then you look potentially down further, you know, mid-table in the second division. If you're shunting them up 2-3 tiers, you know, that's hardly finding their level. It's going to be another situation where they might not find that level and they'll just keep coming back down, you know, and that's another 3 years of relegation potentially.
So do you think the Lowland League in the working group will look at that and say, right, we're telling the Lowland League East and the Lowland League West must have licensed teams in it, right? If we're saying, so if they're sitting around the table and they're going, right, it might end up being that we have to take a Bonnyton or a Girvan up. Now, again, no disrespect to those teams, because I don't mean any disrespect. I'm just being realistic. The realism is they teams would then have to go, we've been put into this division through no fault of our own. Do we actually want to be here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are here now, but we're here through no fault of our own. We're now going to have to spend money to keep ourselves in the division. Or the reality is, for the first couple of years, you're going to be relegating these licensed teams back to where they were. You know what I mean? So for me, I know the way it's going to go. I know it's going to be licensed teams, right? But for me, there has to be a little bit of an opening. I'm not just saying, I know people will be watching this and listening to this and saying, Paul, you've only got the interest of Drumchapel at heart. I really don't. I've got the interest of other teams at heart as well. There's other teams out there, Largs, Bees, all going through their licence checks and bits and bobs now who, Bees obviously winning the league twice, failed to go up twice because of that. And I mean, I know that was their own issue, right? And that's fair enough. But you almost want to say, for me, if you're in the process of getting your license, you must have it within 3 years. You must do all the checks, all the groundwork, all the infrastructure stuff that needs done. And we will still, we'll promote you into the new West and East setup on merit. But if you have not got that done by the third year, then you're back down. And I know that comes with its issues as well, because we're seeing an issue with Bonnie Rose. That might not even come into play now, because obviously they're in a bit of a rut now, and they're heading towards being Club 42 and taking that playoff East Kilbride if they beat the Highland League team. However, I think the argument for going into that setup on merit is definitely one that should be looked at.
Aye, absolutely. They're like, you look at the top end of the West of Scotland just now. Troon having an amazing season. The work that they've done there over the past few years to build to that. Johnsonborough as well, coming up, from last year. Drumchapel yourselves. St Cadoc's had a wee rough patch recently, but again, they're doing good work. Obviously, I think it'll be some of a change potentially at St Cadoc's. So
the rumour is that St Cadoc's will actually have the licence in time for it. I know that's a rumour. I don't know if it's confirmed, but I've heard for good sources that St Cadoc's look like they might have the licence in place for the right time. So that, again, that's another story for another day. But you've just mentioned that the teams that it is going to have an effect on, they'll feel really aggrieved, won't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you see obviously the good work that Lags have been doing. That's been building there for the last 3-4 years as well. Obviously they're in the West final this year against Talbot, so things have been going well for Lags, and obviously they've been able to bring back Will Sewell, who went up to Stenhousemuir. So they're an attractive club to play for, obviously, and Arnie's got everything going well there. So it's the case that you look at a club like that, not that it would demotivate them or disincentivise them, but it really just paints a black and white picture. Like, if you want to get promoted, you need to have this. It's at this level. Obviously, we want to make sure teams are going up through in a right and safe way. You don't want teams, going up 3-4 consecutive divisions and then, I don't know if I swear, but then they're not built on a sustainable foundation. You don't want teams to be going up too quick and then chaos happens. They spend too much to try and stay in the division. But I think when we put these things into place, and you need to have all this, you need to spend 50 grand to get your floodlights in. And, some clubs will need to do a lot of work to their grounds to get it up. We get that, but I think if you look at the kind of standard that's at current Lowland League level and SPFL level, some of the grounds that I've been to that maybe aren't licensed still have a really great standard at them. It's just about ticking these boxes and making sure the paperwork's done for it. So yeah, we want to see it done the right way with meritocracy involved, and it's going to be an interesting few months to see how it unfolds. But I think, as I said, we're getting to that boiling point now where there's a real clamouring for something to change. Obviously, the West of Scotland's split in its 5th year now, from like the old kind of junior setup. So it's been an example that you can do these things, you can break away, and you can create a system that does work. It's just now about trying to get that from the top down, I suppose.
On the flip side of it, and not to put you too much in the spot, it's been rumoured for years, that Auchinleck Talbot would much rather stay in the West of Scotland setup or the old junior setup or whatever it may be. The Auchinleck Talbot didn't have any aspirations to move up because they would lose certain gates and lose a certain amount of money. On the flip side of it, it now becomes very, very appealing for a team like Auchinleck Talbot, doesn't it?
Yeah, as I said there, it's like, I think that's been the kind of rumour and the kind of the general sentiment that's been felt is that, teams like Talbot and even, the other teams that are involved at this level, that have been at this level for a long time, there's still that kind of attachment to the junior style of things where it was all regionalised. So when you go up to a division, no, it's completely foreign. You look in that Lowland League currently, obviously it won't be the factor next year, but you've got historic rivalries there with the teams like Linlithgow Rose. So that was my first final that I remember going to as a Talbot fan, was the Linlithgow Rose game 2001, I think it was, at Firhill. So there's old rivalries there that would be interesting to kind of,
they'd be reignited, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but a team like Talbot has got no history at all with a team like Cumbernauld Colts, Broomhill, Gallifade, and you're looking at teams at the bottom of that. But there's a lot of quality still in that Lowland League, and obviously that's when you'll see competitive rivalries build over time. Looking at the last few years in the west of Scotland, historically Talbot haven't had a rivalry with Darvel, but on the park in the last 4 or 5 seasons there really has been a rivalry brewing there, and you've seen
there has been some really good games as well.
Yeah, so that would just happen over time. As you stabilise in a new division, you'll create those rivalries on the park, and yeah, it's one of them that it's been a discussion point. Obviously, that teams don't want to go up, but it lifts all the good aspects of what you're familiar with now and puts it in a new division, a promotion. You're up at tier 5, and you still have that familiarity, but also still getting to then go and explore, some of these teams that you haven't faced. But it's one of them. I think a lot of teams will be looking at that in terms of the gate as well that it will bring. Talbot have got a big following, Pollock, Clydebank, big followings. The likes of them going to some of the teams that are in the Lowland League that maybe don't have that kind of level of support and aren't getting that level of support with the fans that are currently in the Lowland League. So you look at maybe like your Caledonian Braves, even a team like Albion Rovers, obviously they fell into the Lowland League now and are going through a wee bit of financial troubles. We went up there early in the season in the Scottish Cup and we took a good 300-400 fans. And you can see how much a good atmosphere is generated at a ground. I can't remember what his name. It's Cliftonville, isn't it? Cliftonville. So it's like it's one of them that I think a lot of the clubs that are in the Lowland League currently would really enjoy the prospect of these teams coming up. But obviously it needs to work for all parties, and we don't want it just to be, skyrocketed through. And you've got a lot of disgruntled teams at tier 6 now that will be thinking, oh well, what does it mean? We've finished 2nd, 3rd, 4th this season, and there's teams that are league below going up. So yeah, it's one of them that we'll see how it goes in the next few months, because as I say, it's coming to a boiling point. It's just how it ends up, falling into place.
Yeah, I think we're sitting on the 2nd of April at the moment, and I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any time. If they are wanting to push it through for next season, it needs to be ironed out. Like I said, I've got a feeling that they have ironed it out, that they have got dossiers on the table, that they maybe want secret talks, private talks, whatever, with government bodies and various associations that it needs to be ran by. I don't think they've taken it lightly, and and one of the guys in the media chat said the other night there that the Lowland League don't meet for another month. I really don't believe that they'll wait a month, because that would take us into the beginning of May, and I'm sure our league's due to finish 2 weeks later than that. So I think there'll be talks going on behind the scenes. I think you would call it an EGM or an SGM. There'll be one of them called, and I think they'll put everything on the table. Listen, I don't want to speculate too much, because I've did a lot of that over the last 2 weeks, and my head's actually quite sore. So now, I think this is probably the last time that I'll certainly want to talk about it. But like you says, it's one to look at, and the proposal for me is pretty decent. You need to know what the permutations of that proposal is, and see how it goes forward. But Lee, we'll both look at that with intrigue over the coming weeks. Mm-hmm. Right. We've got lots and lots of fixtures to talk about. We've got a full card, and I think there's one Friday fixture that we'll touch on. We'll start in the Premier League. I think when you look at the table, Clydebank are sitting 22 points ahead of Troon, having played 1 game more and 3 games more than Johnson Borough. I think it's. I'm just glad they never won it on Saturday there. That was quite nice that they didn't beat us and win the league in the same day, because as rainy and miserable as it was, the actual game itself was quite good. So in the Premier Division, I keep saying Premier League, Premier Division, we've got Beeve Juniors at home to St Carrots. We've got Benburb entertaining Clydebank. Cumnock Juniors at home to Johnson Borough. Drumchapel United versus Pollock. Hurlford are against Darvel. Larthistle, Gartcairn. Shots, Bonaccord, Glenafton, and of course Auchinleck Talbot not in league business this week because they've got a nice wee Sunday cup final to contend with. Lee, are you with the boys on Sunday?
I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be there, sadly. But
you won't? Wow.
No. So obviously East Kilbride playing tonight as well. So we're hoping that goes in our favour a wee bit. The miles in the legs, but I think with East Kilbride they've got that much quality and depth that I don't think that will really be an issue. There'll be boys there ready to, claim that starting place if somebody's feeling a wee bit leggy. So yeah, hopefully it goes in our favour. But it's been a good season this season so far for Talbot. Obviously league-wise we're sitting fourth right now, but it's one of them. You get 2 cup finals. Last year with the disappointment of 2 semi-final defeats against Pollock and Darvel. So yeah, it's one step further. Obviously, it's 2 competitions that you want to win, but Talbot's bread and butter has been obviously the Junior Cup and the Scottish Cup, trying to get as far as we can in those. Which obviously this season hasn't happened, but still a great position to be in. Sitting fourth in the league and 2 cup finals to come.
Tucker doing what Tucker does. That's the old saying. Tucker doing what Tucker does. Right. I found it quite hard to select a game of the day because obviously we've pretty much decided that Clydebank's won the league and that's it done and dusted. And I think in terms of, I spoke to Michael Oliver this morning, right, and he thinks it's between the bottom 4. However, I think Hurlford Darvel for me, Ayrshire Derby and the permutations of that game could be huge for both clubs. So that's going to be my game of the day. Let's chat on that. 2 p.m. kick-off at Blair Park. Hurlford against Darvel. Let's have a chat on that. Hurlford.
Aye. Absolutely. There's no if and buts about it. I think that's the game of the day, hands down. You look at it, as you say, the permutations there. If Darvel win, they'll climb out the relegation zone. Obviously, other results pending. Hurlford, I think if they get that win, they would probably consider themselves safe. They'd potentially be 9 points clear of Benburb at that point. So it's a massive game for Darvel. Obviously, a disappointment last week, getting beat 3-2 for Cumnock. Obviously, tried to bring it back towards the end after being 3-0 down at half time. So that's a massive game for Darvel.
Darvel have got, give me a wee second because I spoke to Mick and I was actually, when you look at the permutations at the bottom, right, so you obviously, people have got Gartcairn down and out, right, but I'm on the fence a little bit with that because although Gartcairn haven't performed to the way they should have, they've got 6 massive games remaining, but in terms of squad, you wouldn't want to knock them, would you?
In terms of squad, aye. Obviously it's just how the run of form they're in right now and the games that they've got left in that run-in. It's going to need a great escape almost. Depending obviously on the Benburb situation, because they're only 3 points away from them, so it depends on how Benburb go to the end of the season as well. But Gartcairn, 6 games left. They've got Troon to play twice, obviously currently sitting second. They've got Largs this season, obviously, at Largs, that's going to be a hell of a task for them to get something for that game. Next week they've obviously got Talbot, so there might be a wee bit of cup final hangover there depending on what happens. But other than that, there are 2 games of Glenafton and Shotts, teams that are kind of down there with them. Glen's obviously a wee bit safer now, but the Shotts game, final game of the season, you're looking at that one straight away. If they do somehow, get a few good results here and it goes to the last day, Gartcairn and Shotts, that'll be your game of the day in the final day of the season.
Oh, it would be. So Darvel have got 8 games left. I think they need to win 4, and Mick agreed with that. Mick alluded to that, to be fair. They've got Clydebank, Troon, Beath, Drumchapel and Largs. That's 5 teams sort of sitting, 4 teams in the top 4 and Beath as well. I know Largs are a wee bit further down, aren't they? Because they got that deduction. Right, so Largs are 7th, Beath are 9th, and they have to play Troon, the Borough and us 2nd, 3rd and 5th. That's an almighty ask. However, on the flip side of it, they've obviously got Hurlford away this Saturday and they've got 2 to play against Benburb. So Darvel and Benburb have not played each other yet. So those 2 games can be pivotal as well, couldn't they?
Massively. I think, if Hurlford come away with the win this weekend, I think it means they need to really put all their eggs in the basket of those 2 Benburb games. Obviously, anything they get from the other games will be a bonus. Don't get me wrong, Darvel are still a good side. They've beat Talbot this season 2-1. They've claimed a few good scalps as well. Obviously, the points deduction, you're seeing them there at the bottom, second bottom of the league. And it's like, it feels foreign almost to see them there after the last few seasons they've got, but they've still got the bones of a really good team, a really good manager. I think what will be pivotal as well, of those 8 games they've got left, 5 of them are at home.
Yeah.
So they've got that advantage there. It's just, the games that they've got at home is Beath, Drumchapel, Troon, Clydebank, and obviously they've got Benburb as well. So I think they've got to be going into those games thinking we just need to get something from them, because I think the games against Benburb and Hurlford this weekend, that's going to be the ones that will not save their season, but I think there's more stakes at play there.
Yeah, the league's almost bipolar, because I've said all season, minus Clydebank, Troon are the team to beat. They go and absolutely smash St Cadoc's, they go and absolutely smash Beath, and then we go down there. Now, we're a good side, right? But it could have been 7-8-0 to us. Like, genuinely, the league is just so open. It's not like the first division for last year where everybody could beat everybody, but they were right close games. But you've got teams like Troon going away to Beath and smashing the champions, and you've got there's Pork with no form at all. Just got 2 right good results. One against Shotts. One against Beath, and they were probably, I think they beat Gartcairn prior to that a couple of weeks before that as well. Mm-hmm. It's just the league is absolutely mad. I can do this to you, Lee, because you're not a manager, and I don't feel like I'm going to put you in the spot. If you were to relegate 3, who would it be?
That bunch just now, I don't think it'll stay that way. I think there'll be movement. I don't think it'll be in that order. Currently, obviously, Gartcairn bottom, Darvel 15th, and Shotts 14th. Let me just get a quick look at Shotts run into the season, see how they're looking in their games. So they've got 6 games at home coming up to the end of the season here.
And by the way, how hard a place is Hannah Park to go and get a result?
I've honestly never been, but obviously
it's a hard place. It's a hard place to go and get a result.
So you've got the 6 teams going there. You've got the Glens going there this weekend. Obviously a massive game for Shotts. I think the Glens will be safe. Given their position, they had a good wee run with Paul Payton once he came in. They were looking a wee bit sugly at a point there, but they've stabilised and they've had a few good signings once Paul came in as well. But 6 of those games at home, and they'll get Benburb at home, Gartcairn at home, and the Glens at home. So they'll be targeting potentially hoping 5 points out of those. For them, obviously, they came to Beechwood in February. Talbot up 2-0, and then they come back to get a point in the second half. So if they stick together as a team, obviously they've only had 3 wins all season, but I think they'll be targeting those 3 games specifically at home. And then, as you say, the games against Troon, Johnstonborough, potentially against Talbot again, you'll be seeing them as bonus points. And I think they'll be targeting 5 points, and I think that should probably lift them above Benburb in terms of their running.
It's that time of the season, so I'm going to put myself out there because I'm a media guy. I'm not really, other than doing media for Drumchapel, I'm not really involved with any clubs. So I think Darvel will be safe. I think it'll be Gartcairn, Shotts, and Benburb. That's the 3 that and again, I admire the guys at Gartcairn. I've got a good relationship with both. With both Alec and Craig Armstrong as well. I just think that, and I know, listen, they no bones about it. They would have expected far better things this season. I don't know how much of a detrimental effect the 15 points has had on them, on the players mentally, because with the quality that Gartcairn have got, even out with that 15 points deduction, I still expected them to be out with the relegation zone. They've only won 8 games all season, and that squad that they've got just haven't lived up to expectation for me. I think Shotts, John for me is a Premier Division manager. He is a very, very good coach, a very, very nice guy, and a really, really top guy to be involved at this level. He's got a good affiliation with Shotts. I don't think if they do go down, I don't think John will walk. I don't think that's in his remit. I think he'll want to, but I don't think Shotts did enough to maybe have the ambition. Because they've not been able to financially do it. They've had to do it with bringing in younger boys. I think the boy Rico, very, very good player. I'm sure they got him for East Kilbride 20s. They've obviously got Ali Small in there as well, who spells with Darvel and Johnstonborough. 3 games, 3 wins from 22 is just not enough to keep you in the division for me. I know they've got another 8 games to play, but out of the 8 games, if you've got any aspirations of staying up, I think they need to take that 30-point mark. Seems to be the mark that sort of everybody. So that would, to get to that 30-point mark, that would require him to win in 5 games out of his 8. He's only won 3 games all season, so you find it hard to pick that up. And Buildup, again, very, very similar, where I can't see them picking up points anywhere. Like they went 1-0 up against us and had a very, very good 20 minutes, but it was almost like them getting that goal was the worst thing that could have happened for them, because it lifted us, it propelled us, and then we went on to win the game 4-1. So I think it is a good time in the season to predict it, and I think Gart, Cairn, Shots and Buildup it'll be the 3 that goes down. Feel free to annihilate me at the end of the season if none of the ones go down. We'll jump into that. We'll jump into the first division now, Lee, where it is really, really hotting up. So we'll touch on the top of the table first before we go to the fixtures. So the top of the table is Renfrew, Kilwinning, Rutherglen. Renfrew played 25, Kilwinning played 23, Rutherglen played 23, 45, 45 and 43 points, 2 points separate them. However, you have Arthurlie back 8 and 10 points. However, they have 6 games in hand over the top 3, so you would need to take them into consideration. Let's just quickly touch on what a good job Jimmy Quigley's done at Renfrew, because I don't think anybody gave him a chance at the beginning of the season. There was people touting them for relegation.
Aye, I've seen obviously the project kind of building at Renfrew the past few years. I remember filming the Strathclyde Demolition Cup a few years ago. They beat Whitlets to get into the Scottish Cup qualifying trophy for that. And you can see what they were building there. And they've built on that. They've come up, they've stabilised, and they're reaping the rewards of that. And I think it's the togetherness of that team under Jimmy's. It's been commendable. Obviously, they've still got a long way to go. It's such a tight top end of the table. Big hitters there as well. Teams with probably a lot bigger budgets and aspirations. But I think they're in the driver's seat now. They've got the points on the board. 5 games to go. But I think promotion, obviously, depending on how the reconstruction goes, would be a massive achievement for the club.
Yeah, no, it would be. Let's talk Arthurlie very, very quickly. Obviously, let Colin Riley go a few weeks ago. Kevin Rukowitz was the appointment they made to go in there. Their game against Kilwinning, that was a big show game last Saturday. That was called off an hour before kick-off. I think a lot of Kilwinning fans kicking up a rumpus there. What does Kevin have to do? What does he need to do now? I know that's maybe an obvious question, but it's not so easy to go into a club that's been riding well all season, having their manager sacked. It's not like he's having to go in and re-galvanise things. Potentially that could upset them. And he's made 3 or 4 signings as well, which again I don't probably think he needed to.
It's funny, and you look at their running, they've got 13 games to go. Only 4 of them are going to be at home, so it's going to be a lot of road games for them. And obviously this weekend, their game against Renfrew, they win that, they go back up into 4th place, and they'll be smelling 3rd place after that. I think they'll just keep going as they've been doing. Obviously off the field, I think obviously a lot's been made of it the past few weeks with the sacking of Colin and the whole dispute about players' wages and stuff like that. But they've got a good bunch there, and it doesn't seem as though they'll be the type to down tools at this point in the season. Seeing that the goals in sight is, it's typical at Talbot at this time of the year. You're trying to catch up with all these games. So I think that really galvanises the team. Obviously there'll be points dropped in there, but I think the goal there, they're in a good position to still go and get promoted back the first time asking. Obviously relegated last year. So I think it's Kevin's job now just to guide them through that to the end of the season. They've got to where they are currently on the merit on the park. Obviously a few speed bumps here and there and things that maybe no great in terms of off the field, but still in a great position. You look at that, they've got 7 games in hand to Petershill and 2 points behind them. They'll be in the rear view mirror soon enough. So yeah.
Before we look at the fixtures in the first division, a shout out to our sponsors and a kind of a wee up yours to PG, because I've got myself a nice wee VSM bottle here. PG, have you got one of these? I don't think you have. I've also got a cup as well. Gary gave us a mug. Proud sponsor of this episode, of course, is VSN Sport. If you are looking for a bespoke kit for your club, then contact Gary on 0141 883 7612. Gary is the guy that I refer to with a big beard. You'll see him at various grounds that are using VSN kits and maybe trying to drum up some business. But from a guy who purchased his own kit for his amateur team from VSN, the quality is absolutely fantastic. So, 0141 883 7612 and ask for Gary. Right, First Division fixtures, Lee, Kirkintilloch, Rob Roy, St Roch's on the Friday. That is a 7:30 kick-off at Kirkintilloch Sports Complex. Blantyre, Thorneywood, Cumbernauld, Irvine Meadow, Kilbirnie Lakeside, Petershill, Kilwinning Rangers, Maple, Renfrew, Arthurlie, Bailey, Clyde, Ardrossan, Winton Rovers, and Irvine Meadow. Are they? Irvine Meadow play Cumbernauld United. My bad. That was an 8th April fixture I was about to tell you there. I think we touched on it. Game of the day really has to be Renfrew Arthurlie, doesn't it? That's going to be a massive game.
Aye, I think Renfrew get a positive result for that one if they get 3 points. I think they'll be pretty confident they'll go up. As you say, Arthurlie, I think the amount of games they've got in hand, they're going to be in that top 3 regardless. Yeah. It's just how it falls at that point. If it is going to be the combination of Arthurlie, Cowan and Renfrew, Arthurlie, Cowan and Rutherglen, it's difficult to tell. But in terms of games of the day, that one stands out. That's all thumb.
So after Colin was sacked, Gary Carroll took the team. So the infrastructure of the dressing room, the camaraderie would have probably all still been there, given that, and Colin went down to the game, and I believe that he's not going to go down there and just stand at his side. He would have went and spoke to some of the players. So the camaraderie and that's still there, and they beat Kilbirnie Lakeside 1-0, so all's good. But then Dinky was made the manager actually they announced it that night, which I didn't really expect. I knew it was happening, but I thought they were going to leave it to the Monday. So they've had a chance to be in training. As a media guy, what do you think that a new manager going into a club that's already doing really well, going to play top of the league, does he have to give them a team talk? Does he have to change the style of play? Is that something that needs to be done?
Obviously, he'll have his own vision in terms of what he wants to put on the map for his version of Arthurlie. But he's came from, he was at Stirling before, wasn't he, Kevin?
He's been at Stirling, and I think that was before. He was at Stirling before Kilby, wasn't he? So Mick, I'm sure Mick replaced him, if I'm right in saying. No, Mick replaced Martin, but Martin replaced Kevin, I'm sure. So it'll be 2 years ago or something since he was last in a job.
It's obviously for one of them, as I say, they're on a good roll. Obviously, they've lost their manager recently in the off-field drama, but as you say, the team talk is, look where you are right now. You've got 13 games to go. We start today against Renfrew, top of the league. We go and put our map down and we get up back into the Premier League. It's as simple as that. They've got all the tools to get there. It's just keeping the boys' confidence high.
If you're looking at Renfrew, Kilwinning, Rutherglen, Arthurlie, I said you can't discount Petershill or Cumbernauld now. It's probably too early, and even a Thorneywood, right? But out of those teams, who would you say has got the best chance of going up and making a name for themselves in the Premier Division?
Also, it depends on what the standard of the Premier Division looks like next year.
Because you don't want a yo-yo. You don't want a yo-yo, do you? You want to actually see our team going up like a Drumchapel. We've done fantastically well. I've said it time and time again. I think that division suits us a lot more than the First Division. Yeah. But I think Kevin's Kilwinning could do well. Who do you think would? I know you said obviously it would depend on what a Premier Division looks like, but who do you think would go up and make a name for themselves?
As you say, they're a wee bit far back now, but Thorneywood, obviously, we played them a few weeks ago in the West semi-final and was really impressed with Thorneywood. Played them in pre-season. Obviously, a different team in pre-season. You can't take much for that, but the improvements that they'd made and just how dangerous a team they were. I think they've got a good few tools in there that could keep them afloat in the Premier Division, but it's a different division, as you say. You could be sitting toiling in the First Division, maybe scrape playoffs, and then you go in and you might do better in the Premier League compared to what you would do. You've seen teams winning the leagues come up and they're the first team to come back down. It's not always the best team in that division. You'll be the best team out of the 3 that go up that will be in the highest place in the division above. But aye, as you say, Kilwinning played them in pre-season as well, looked solid, and they're obviously Premier League quality and calibre off the park, so they're ready to get back up there. As you think they were kind of planning on, staying in the division this season, so I don't know if mentally they're ready to go up.
Yeah.
But I think obviously the size of the club-wise, Kilwinning should be in the Premier Division. Rutherglen, again, really big club, good foundations there. But yeah, I'd say there's not going to be any teams going up that I feel wouldn't be ready for it. Renfrew may be the only one, but they've been building and they've been on that winning streak. So, aye, I'd say anybody that goes up will be a credit to the division.
I think as a committee, Kilwinning were being realistic. I think Kevin's probably exceeded expectations. I had Kevin on the show a couple of weeks ago and he kind of alluded to that. So it's nice to actually see that, first and foremost, it's nice to see a club take a chance on a right young manager. And second of all, it's actually nice to see it work out, you know what I mean? And so we'll keep a wee eye. That's going to be a massive 7 or 8 weeks. I don't even think there's some midweek games thrown in there. So I think 6 or 7 weeks, it'll be interesting to watch. Right, let's super dive into the second division where it's
the division as well. Like, obviously Blantyre and Ashfield are kind of, away now, almost confirmed. But you look at that stretch there, from 14th place Rob Roy up to 10th place Kilbirnie. Like, there's even, you could go higher than that, teams currently in their 30s.
Like mathematically, it is, you're right. You're seeing like another medal. I think Jamie's done an incredible job there to get them out there they were in. Blantyre, again, not mathematically, but your Blantyre and Ashfield are down and out as far as I'm concerned. But you're right, Kirky, Rob Roy, Maple, Irvine Meadow, Valley Clyde, Kilbirnie. I don't think I'm going to take, personally, I'm not going to take St Rocks into this the equation or a Dross Winton Rovers because unbelievably, notoriously, we've always said that first division is one of the hardest leagues in non-league football. You could actually mathematically take that middle of the table and have a fight that they could get promoted and also have a fight that they could get relegated. Do you know what I mean? I don't think anybody, I think for me, if I was to, I would say Irvine Meadow are probably in. Irvine Meadow, Kilbirnie and Ladeside have all played 21 games. Valley Clyde, Maple played 24 and 23. For me, if I was choosing another one to go down, it would be between Kirk Rob Roy, Maple and Valley Clyde. I just think Irvine Meadow will have too much. I don't think Kilbirnie are in too much danger. And I don't think St Rocks are in an awful lot of danger either, mate.
Aye, obviously this weekend there's not a lot there that will impact that. The only one you really look at is Valley Clyde and Ardrossan. If Ardrossan get another win there, then it puts Valley Clyde in it, but obviously they'll have 5 games left sitting in 27 points and they'll be looking below them. The likes of Irvine Meadow on 21 games played. Maple will have 2 games in hand to them. Rob Roy with 3. There is a danger there for a team like Valley Clyde to get sucked into that. As you say,
especially after they would want to cement their place in the first division because it was a double promotion for them, wasn't it? They won the third division, they get promoted out the second division, and ultimately got to the first. Has that been a step too far? The story's still to be told, hasn't it? Second division, my man. Let's just quickly look at the top of that because it is very, very, very interesting. Whitlett's, Neilson and Muirkirk occupy the 3 places. Whitlett's winning that game last week against Muirkirk. It was very, very close. I did say that would have a huge, huge impact on not only where the title goes, but where the promotion goes. Whitlett's obviously coming out in top 2-1. However, Muirkirk still have those 4 games in hand. 4 games equals 12 points. So you've got to go and win those games to get those 12 points. But if you were looking at that would put Muirkirk 4 ahead of Whitlett's. And let's not discount Neilson as well because they're definitely going to have. Listen, I've spoke to guys at Neilson and they're going for the title. That's it. They want the title. Promotion's a bonus, but they want the title. And then you look into 4th place. In 5th place, you've got Lanark and Lark Hall sort of vying for those promotion places as well. Let's dive into the fixtures. Let's take a look at the fixtures. Bells Hill, Athletic, St Anthony's, Bonnyton host Leslie Hago, Cali Locals have Craig Mark. Lanark United against Kilsyth Rangers. Lark Hall 4th. Muirkirk, Maryhill. Neilston, Whitlett's Victoria. Yoker, Cambuslang. Can you see past Neilston? Whitlett's for that game of the day. That's first versus second. And I think doubt them at your peril, but Whitlets are having a cracking season.
Aye, I mean, you can see that for the start of the season with the quality of player they've brought in. Obviously coming down for the first division last year, they made a wee go at the end, but you know, it's one of them they've really cemented on the group that they've got there. Obviously, the boys that were at Talbot last season have went there, so they've got that Premier League quality and experience that you need to get out of these divisions. And obviously to build on that, they'd David Markey as well for a wee while. Obviously, he's went back to the Glenafton, but real solid bunch there and a club going in the right direction, all things considered. Obviously, after a difficult season last year.
What would you, if you were a betting man, or are you a betting man? If you were to look at the Whitlets, Whitlets obviously at home, right? So going to, Neilson at home, going to Briggerlee, isn't it's a hard place to go. It's been nice weather here the last couple of days, so the park will be nice. It'll not be too hard. It'll not be too soft. It will be just right. I think it's a good park to go to play some football, and I think Neilson will fancy their chances at getting the result on Saturday. And that, listen, if they get the result, that puts them back top of the table. It puts them in the ascendancy, doesn't it?
Aye, obviously it's going to be an interesting end to the season. Nobody's really got an advantage as such. If Neilson go and win that point, there'll be level games played a point ahead. Obviously goal difference wise, that's where Whitlets would definitely have the advantage if it does come down to the wire in terms of a title race. But obviously still 5 games to be played at that point, 4 for Whitlets after that. So aye, if Neilson have obviously got the advantage this weekend being at home, but it's first v second, literally anything can happen. And second division, it's like when you go down the divisions, it's the consistency that gets a lot of teams. So it just takes one to have an off day, and you could be looking at something completely different to what you'd expect going into it. A really tight game. It could end up being pretty convincing for one side or the other.
I think if you were to look at the start of the season, look at the league now, and I think Andy's got to be commended for the job that he's done at Neilson, because I know a lot of I know he's got Dylan and Dale and guys that have been there, done it, wore the t-shirt, but he's brought boys in like Conor McCabe and Sean Ross who are plying their trade at amateur football for Arthurly amateurs last year, and these are 2 boys that Andy's made a beeline for, and the 2 of them have went in and done fantastically well. So I think Andy needs to be commended there, considering I said they could beat 6-0 off the Larkhall Thistle at the start of the season at home. You know what I mean? So to turn it around in the way that they have is really commendable as well. The other end of the table, I think, given, it's a fall from grace for me almost, because you remember when we were doing the conferences to see who went into the Premier League in the first division. Craigmark were a game away from getting into the Premier League. I think it was Arthurly in the end of their conference who ended up getting in, and to see them sitting 16th, dead last in the second division, it makes me feel a wee bit sad, to be perfectly honest with you. But I don't really know what's going on there. I don't know if it's obviously when OPG was in there with Ian Nixon and that, and I think that it makes a horrible look. 2 games they've won all season, a draw and 20 losses. What's going wrong there?
It's a real sliding doors moment, as you say. Like, a game away for potentially being in the Premier Division. Even last year, they made it to the quarterfinals of the West Cup. So there's been a good feel-good factor about the club. It's maybe just they've hit their peak, and it's just that you go through cycles as clubs, and it's maybe one of them. They've hit their golden era. Obviously, they've had a really good period with Cadiz. Say Ian and
Cadiz's fault.
Aye, exactly. It's all Caddy's fault. But no, it's maybe just one of the natural things, the cycles. You've had your wee moment in the sun. It's unfortunate to see, bottom of division, 2 games won all season, minus 62 goal difference. Like, you look at the other teams around them, like it's minus 16, minus 13, minus 17. Also, some really good attacking sides in the division, but the defence is obviously what's letting them down, and you don't want to obviously draw attention to that, but you can't avoid it at that point. It's been a real difficult season, and I think they've accepted mentally that they're preparing for life in that 3rd division. It's just how to go about that now and how they get back up. Or, as I say, it's just that natural cycles that clubs go through. They had their wee moment in the sun, coming for a region that's not got a large catchment, try to get players down to the deep dark bits of Ayrshire, when you've maybe not got the biggest budget eyes, a real big ask. So I think it highlights more the job that Ryan Caddis done. And obviously Ian and PG last year getting to the West quarter final. But as you say, it's sad to see, but it's football, it's cutthroat, I
think it's a huge fall from grace, and I think the worry for me is that they go and do a Carluke, they go into that third division and because listen, the depth and quality is no that much a difference for the two leagues, you know what I mean, in terms of actual football and ability. The worry for me is that they go and go again, Fourth Wanderers, Leslie Hago make up that last 14th and 15th place with St Anthony's and Cambuslang Rangers. You could bring Yoker into the equation as well. Bells Hill probably played a lot more games. It's going to be a right fighting battle to avoid relegation there, because 10th to 15th are all sort of there, aren't they?
Aye, like the other one that sticks with me this weekend, obviously, if you didn't have that top of the table clash, it would be Yoker against Cambuslang. Another kind of sliding doors moment as well. Obviously, Cambuslang win their conference, had a real good feel factor about the club. They go up into the Premier Division, it just doesn't work out. As I said, like we touched on it in the previous division as well, that you can be the best team in the division, best team in the conference, have all the momentum you want, but sometimes you're just not built for the league that you're going up to, And Cambuslang have been an example of that, really struggled in the Premier Division. First Division last year, again, really struggled. And, you look at them now, like, if Yoker come away with a result, they'll be, 8 points behind them. So they'll be cut adrift. They'll not be able to finish any higher than 12th, and they'll have the most games played amongst that bunch that's still fighting for their lives down there. Fourth with, still 4 games in hand. Les Mahago, 4 games in hand. The Ants still have a game in hand to them as well. The Wilney, sorry. But yeah, it's a real difficult one for Cambuslang as well. So I see that as being a big, game this weekend as well at home park.
You wonder also if Yoker can sustain it, because their manager, I'm not too sure that the statement leads me to believe that he's just kind of left the committee with the option to appoint a new management team. He's maybe felt that he's done what he could. He's taken his team to a Junior Cup final against Talbot 3 years ago, which would have been unforeseen back then, because they had an incredible run. I was involved with Ashfield at the time. They beat us in the quarterfinals, and they were a right good side at that point. And I think that they've just announced literally within the hour that their under-20s management team are going to take the team for the rest of the season. It's going to be a big job for them, isn't it, to keep them in the division?
Big opportunity for them. Look at that league table now. 7 games to go. They're one of the outliers down there. They're sitting 11th place with a positive goal difference. The teams around are on minus double digits. So, if you put it on goal difference, they've got the 6th best goal difference in the league, and they're in this, sticky wicket potentially. I think they'll be pretty safe given the 5-point gap they've got over Cambuslang. Might extend that this weekend, but it's one of them. It's a big opportunity for the boys coming through at the 20s to take the team. Potentially an opportunity for some of the younger boys there. To come into that setup, and I see that as a pivotal game this weekend to see what happens in the relegation race.
Let's dive into the third division. I've supported them throughout this season because I just think what they've done is incredible. I think the academy stuff that they do, all the work that's going on behind the scenes. But I'm going to buy a Thorn Athletic strip, I think. Thorn just I know, absolute cruise control, and I know Mark will not like me saying that because he's quite he's one of those guys that won't say it's done until it's done, but there are 6 games remaining. The top 3 have got 6 games remaining, and Thorn are on 58, Ardee are on 45. And by the way, as much as I love Thorn, Sean Kenny has done an incredible job at Ardee. Kilsyth Athletic, obviously Bailey Hanlon announcing last week that he's stepping back from it, so it'll be interesting to see how they move on from that. I don't know if it's the best time for an announcement like that, considering where they're sitting, because the heads go. But Bailey's an old head on young shoulders, and he's probably sat the team down and go, look, do this for me, and let's take Kilsyth into that second division. That's for me. Thorn have won it, but you've got Ardee, Kilsyth, Greenock, Dalry and Threave can't be thrown out yet. Just I know they had a bad result at the weekend there, but they can't be thrown out. So that's for me. Thorn have won that. They're champions. But you've got second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth all fighting for that second and third promotion spot.
Aye, like you say, you can't write Threave off. You look at him, 11 games in hand. So it's one of them as well with Threave. You know, they've took the chance going for the South of Scotland League, and they've been at the top end of that third division now for the past few years. You know, they're almost there, and it's one of them. I feel second division's a lot more their level. Obviously, I've seen them earlier in the season against Stranraer in the Scottish Cup. They've got good quality. So yeah, Threave for me, I would be looking at them 11 games in hand. Obviously, they're playing where are they? Fanart this weekend. So it's a big opportunity for them to really, keep that as a kind of top 6 promotion race.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's still plenty of football to be played. But in terms of the top of the league, Thorn have absolutely this year. Talbot played them in that mid-season friendly, actually it was. And you can see the difference in quality between Premier Division to Third Division, but look, they still had a really good few players there. And obviously, in terms of Third Division standards, they've stood out. Really good season last year in the Fourth Division, and the youth setup there is incredible as well. Their youth teams are really strong. So I think it's a club built on good foundations, and we'll see them keep going through. I'd imagine almost kind of.
I highlighted my worry for them would be the fact that they do have a very, very good academy, and especially see where they're based. They're based in Johnson. So I would imagine Murday and the backroom team at Johnson will be keeping a right good eye on them as well. I know there's a couple of good boys there that could easily make that step into a Premier League team. I'm no doubt about that. Well, just before we jump into the Fourth Division, because I'm cautious of the time that we've got. Valley leaving, Irvine Victoria and Wishaw. Wishaw look like they're probably down and out. They've had a torrid time this season, but teams Irvine are actually picking up some points. Teams that are not maybe so Valley leaving. Girvan could be pulled into the mix, given that they've played a lot of games. I don't know what I was expecting. I thought Girvan would have been a lot better this. I don't know Dean Keenan personally. But I know he's got some right good contacts, in the game, and just something told me that Girvan were going to be a right good side this year. It's not materialised just yet, but maybe there's a bit more to work on there. But it's looking like Valley leaving, Irvine Victoria, Wishaw at the bottom end of that, and then you've got Perthshire, Girvan, and Glasgow United. Maybe take Glenvale into the equation as well, all sort of battling to stay in that division.
It was like Glenvale last year, scooshed the Fourth Division. They were kind of runaway winners at the end, I believe. And then Vale leaving were one of the promotion hopefuls last year to go up for the Third Division, and just a complete, opposite this season. Look at their goal difference down there, 24 games played, so it's looking a wee bit shaky for them. But I think it'll be an interesting race looking at it. But it's Wishaw and Irvine Vics. I think you can count them out now. There's still a wee bit of hope there. For Vale leaving, given that they're maybe a wee bit better defensively than the teams below them. But yeah, it's an interesting division, but it's going to heat up towards the tail end of the season here. And obviously, local boy, obviously at Lugar Boswell Thistle last week, Ewan McIver, 3-minute hat trick. Don't know if you've seen that one.
You don't see 3-minute hat tricks very often, do you?
Oh no, special, definitely special. He was playing under 20s football last season with Maybole, so good to see that happening. Playing for the 20s level and doing well.
The Fourth Division, we spoke. It's not really changed much, since we started the build-up. We're on episode 5 now, and it kind of seems to be the 4 or 5 teams. But Knightswood and Port Glasgow obviously fighting out for the championship. I actually very, very briefly spoke to Darren Miller yesterday via text, and he, he alludes they know they're promoted, but they want the title, so it's battle on, like battle commence with 6 games to go. It's between Knightswood and Port Glasgow. Port Glasgow have been there and done it. They've been in the setup a long time. Knightswood are the new boys. It's them that have got to go and prove something now. I know they've got right experienced boys in there in the team, and they've probably got the mettle to go and do it, but they've lost a couple of games recently, which up until I think 3-4 weeks ago they were undefeated. I might be wrong with that, but I'm sure they'd only lost, like, they got beat off of Royal Albert, and I think they hadn't lost a game since that. They've lost another game since Royal Albert as well, so Keller Rovers, Easterhouse probably are battling it, maybe can take Rossvale into the equation as well, are battling it for that last promotion slot, aren't they?
Aye, even Eglinton there, as you say as well, it just stops a game in hand to Rossvale. That would get him on points. Goal difference a wee bit lesser, but you say with Knightswood, they'll be aiming to have their eyes on the title, but there's some difficult games in there for them still to come. They have to play Eglinton twice, they'll play them the last 2 games. And you look at the game potentially against Rossvale as well, depending how they finish the season. So it's not all a given yet. Port Glasgow obviously having a wee bit more, no experience based on, but also being in the league system a lot longer. That might favour them a wee bit, but in terms of goals for, obviously massive. Obviously they'll be approaching 100 goals, potentially might hit that this weekend or next. So really strong going forward, and obviously that'll go in their favour towards the end of the season as well. In terms of the promotion, you've got a potential 4 or 5 teams there still vying for that final spot. Kellow will be hoping to come back up for relegation last year, but teams like Easterhouse and Rossvale, obviously good young cores, they'll be motivated to get right up.
Yeah, I've got my money on Kellow. It'll be interesting. It's going to be an interesting 5 or 6 weeks in the West of Scotland Football League. Guys, if you're not doing anything on Saturday, get out, support your local club. Lee, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Let's do the sponsor shout out once more. I can maybe VSN bottle. I've got a wee mug as well. A shout out to VSN. They do bespoke kits for your clubs. They supply a lot of kits in the West of Scotland as well, a lot of teams, proud sponsor of the episode, of course, is VSN Sport. If you're looking for bespoke kitwear for your club, then contact Gary. Gary is the guy with the big beard that you'll see at various grounds. You can contact him at VSN on 0141 883 7612. For now, Lee, thanks very much for joining us, mate, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Magic, Paul, thanks very much for having me on.